You know, we usually think of sound as just something we hear, right? But what if it's way, way more than that? What if sound is the actual fabric of reality, a fundamental force that creates and connects everything? Today, we're going to explore this really profound idea that the universe, well, that it's music.
Just listen to this, ancient verse from the Rig Veda. It perfectly sets the stage. It's written from the point of view of sound itself, as this divine, all-powerful presence. And this isn't just pretty poetry. It's a worldview that mystics and sages have shared for thousands of years.
So, let's really lean into that question. We're going to take a journey, starting with something as intimate as our own breath and expanding all the way out to the grand symphony of the cosmos. You'll see how this ancient wisdom is still incredibly resonant today.
Okay, to get our heads around this huge cosmic idea, we've got to start small. We have to ground it in a personal experience. What does sacred sound actually feel like, and what does it do for us as individuals?
I just love these metaphors he uses. A lodgepole, that's the central pole that holds up a whole teepee, right? And a tuning fork, something that brings you back into alignment. It really shows you that for so many people, sacred sound isn't some add-on. It's the very thing that gathers your whole being and plugs you into a deeper rhythm.
And this is such a brilliant way to think about it. It's not just about making noise. You've got silent meditation and vocal chanting, and they're not opposites. They're two halves of a whole. One is the inhale, you're listening, you're still. The other is the exhale, you're expressing, you're participating. You really need both to create this complete, living, breathing spiritual practice.
All right, so we've got that personal anchor. Now let's zoom out. This idea of sound being a creative force, it isn't unique to one person or one tradition. Not at all. In fact, it's one of the most universal themes you can find in all of human mythology.
And what's just wild is the consistency you see across all these different cultures. You've got the primordial Om in Hinduism, the divine logos or word in Christianity, the creative command be or kun in Islam, and even the sacred creation maps of the Aboriginal songlines. It's like humanity all over the world independently came to the same conclusion: the world was sung into existence.
But believe it or not, the parallels get even more specific, and honestly, kind of mind-blowing. Let's look at the foundational texts of two traditions that seem worlds apart, and see how they secretly mirror each other.
Okay, just look at this. The very first verse of the Hebrew Bible, Genesis 1:1, it's made up of exactly 7 Hebrew words. Now flip over to the central chant of Nichiren Buddhism, Namu Myōhō Renge Kyō. It's made of 7 characters. And in both traditions, the number 7 is this huge symbol of divine completion and perfection. It's incredible. One sequence speaks the world into being. The other speaks awakening into being. The resonance there is just wow.
So now we move from mythology into this really cool space where ancient math, mysticism, and even modern cosmology all start to intersect.
So picture this. It's over 2,500 years ago, and the Greek philosopher Pythagoras discovers something profound. He finds that simple, whole-number math ratios are what create the most beautiful, harmonious musical intervals. You divide a string in half, you get a perfect octave. A 2-to-3 ratio gets you a perfect fifth. But for Pythagoras, this wasn't just a cool music trick. For him, this was proof that the universe itself was built on a divine, mathematical, and musical order.
And you might think, okay, that's a neat ancient idea. But get this, it actually holds up. Modern mathematicians like John Martineau have found that the orbits of our planets follow these very same harmonic ratios. He calls it the beautiful dance patterns of the solar system. The ancient idea of the music of the spheres turns out it's more than just a metaphor.
And this idea, it's so powerful, it didn't just fade away with the ancient world. Nope, it kept popping up, inspiring some of the most creative minds of the 20th century.
Take J.R.R. Tolkien, for instance. In his creation myth for Middle-earth, the universe doesn't start with a bang or with light. It starts with a song. These divine beings sing a great music, and their harmonies and their discords literally weave the fabric of reality. For Tolkien, sound comes before form. And for a powerful real-world example, look at the journey of jazz legend John Coltrane. After a profound spiritual awakening, his entire life and his music were transformed. He went from just being a performer to being on this quest for transcendence. His masterpiece, A Love Supreme, isn't just an album, it's basically a 4-part prayer that he offers to God through his saxophone. And you can see it right in his own words.
He wrote this prayer where he realized everything is vibration. Thought waves, heat waves, sound waves, it's all the same stuff. And by aligning with that vibration through his music, he could find a direct path to the divine. So for Coltrane, sound wasn't just about God, sound was a path to God.
All right, so we've been way out in the cosmos, we've visited Middle-earth, we've been in the world of jazz. Now let's bring it all the way back home, back to us, back to the body, the breath, and the actual sounds we make.
Check this out. Take these two sacred words from opposite ends of the world, Namu and Amen. They have absolutely no linguistic connection, but what they do, their function, is almost identical. Namu is this act of devotion, like a bowing of the heart. Amen is an act of affirmation, a seal on the soul. It's like one leans forward in surrender and the other leans back in trust.
And what's at the very heart of both of those words? The ah sound. Think about it. Physiologically, it's the most open sound we can possibly make. You have to open your throat completely. It literally slows your breathing and relaxes you. It's the sound of awe and release, and that's exactly why you find it in sacred words all over the globe. Which brings us to a final, really critical question. After everything we've looked at, from creation myths to cosmic harmonies, what are we actually doing with all this? Are we just sending our voices out into the vast, silent cosmos, hoping someone's listening? But here's the big shift in perspective. Maybe we've had it backwards the whole time. Maybe we aren't the ones starting the song. Maybe our voices, our prayers, our chants are just us tuning in and becoming instruments, so that a much older, much grander music can play through us.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. The goal isn't to struggle to create harmony, but to simply remember that we are already part of it. Every single one of us is already a unique note in a cosmic symphony that has been playing forever. The only real practice is to listen and to remember our part in the choir.